Hello everyone and welcome back. Now we're going to be diving into another essential financial analysis tool. It is called the vertical analysis. Initially in video 1 we discussed the horizontal analysis and pretty much every calculation was horizontal. Now we're going to do a calculation and it's going to be vertically in which we're going to make some assessment of two of the financial statement, the income statement and the balance sheet. Okay, so this is a great way to see the big picture of a company performance in just one glance. Okay, so by definition, the vertical analysis is when we take a single financial statement, it could be either the balance sheet or the income statement, and express each item as a percentage of a base amount on that statement. Now, each statement have a different base amount, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. But this will help us to understand the relatively size of each item and how the resources are allocated or earned depending on the statement that you're looking at. Okay, so we're going to be using an income statement, we're going to be using a balance sheet. Now when we discuss the balance sheet, as you can see now, and once again this balance sheet that you see in the video is the same one as you have in your PowerPoint. All right, so the base that we're going to use in this balance sheet is going to be the total assets. Now, when we discuss the income statement, the base number will be net sales. Now, that's something that you need to know, okay? You cannot just guess or arbitrarily change that because it doesn't work that way, okay? You have to be specifically net sales for the income statement and total assets for the balance sheet. Okay. Now, why do we use this vertical analysis before we start? Well, it's super useful for comparing companies of different sizes, analyzing internal control structures, comparing performance over time. You will see that as soon as we start throwing the numbers, and even benchmarking. Okay, so if you want to do a benchmark against industry standards, that will be a very good exercise as well. Okay, so instead of focusing on a raw number, we're going to be focusing in proportions. That's what this is all about, right? So let's start doing the calculation. So here we have 2025, 2024, prior year, current year. And we said that our base number here is going to be total asset. I'm going to put this in red just so you can follow me, right? So what we're going to do is, and let's start with 2025. We're going to divide every number by the total asset. And that way we're going to see what percentage each one of these items represent of the total asset. Just to give you an example. Let's start assets. So I wanted to know what 48,844, when I divide that by 338,516, the total asset, how much cash represent out of my total assets. Okay, so if I do that exercise, it's equal to 48,844 divided by 338,516. That will be 14.4. So basically what I'm saying here is that in 2025, my cash and cash equivalent, it represents 14.4% out of my total assets. Okay. Now, if I do 2024, I'll do the same thing. I'll divide 25,913 and I divided that by 365, 725. That will give me 7.1%. So there's a huge increase in cash from one period to the next. Okay, and then the next question will be, okay, so what caused that? Because these analyses are very helpful. It doesn't necessarily solve any problem. It will just allow you to ask the right questions. Okay, so it puts you in a perspective that will allow you to ask the right question. It doesn't necessarily give you the solution. Now remember, the horizontal analysis compare amounts over time. Here, the vertical analysis compares proportion within one period. Okay, so we are not checking two periods here. We're just calculating one period. Now let's go with short-term marketable securities and here. Okay, so here what we're gonna do is we're gonna divide. If you're doing 2025, we're gonna divide 51,000. Sorry about that. 51,713 divided by total assets. So that's not going to change. The total assets is going to be my base number, and that's it, right? So that will be 15.3%. So if I do the one for 2024, then I will say that it is, I need to check 40,388, right? That's my short-term marketable security for 2024. And I'm going to divide that by the total assets of that year. That will tell me that short-term marketable securities in 2024 represent 11% of my total assets, while in 2025 increased to 15.3%. All right, let's do one more. Look at my receivables. Let's check receivables, right? So when again, receivable will be, if I'm going to calculate that for 2025, it will be 22,926. That's my balance in the receivable account, right? And I'm going to divide that by the total of the same year, the total asset of the same year. So account receivable represent in 2025 6.8% of my total assets. So if I check that in 2024, I divide 23,186. That's my balance in the account receivable in 2024, and I divide that by the total assets of that period. That will be 6.3%. Okay, and I continue doing that all the way until I complete the total asset. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to put a formula. In order to do all of them, I have to just put a little formula here. Otherwise, it will not let me do that. So give me just 1 second. I like to do videos like this, nothing pre-formatted, so you know step by step everything that I'm doing. Okay, so that's my formula there. I can still put the totals here, right? If I wanted to, I can just copy this in the totals. I just leave that open so you can do it on your own, but that is the calculation right there. All right, so now let's try a few of liabilities, okay? And maybe one or two for stockholders' equity. One of the questions that I often receive is, okay, what do we do now? Because assets are equal liabilities plus stockholders' equity. So this number of asset in the balance sheet, obviously, should be the same as this number down here, right? So it's 338,516, 338,516. So now you might be thinking, well, now the liabilities, which is in the other side of the question, right? The account in the question is assets equal liability plus owner's equity or stockholders' equity. So this then it should be as a percentage of this number over here, right? The liabilities and stockholders' equity. Well, technically the calculation will be the same, but it will be incorrect. That's not the proper way to do it. In the vertical analysis, we always use total asset as a base, okay, the 100%, because what you're trying to do is we're analyzing how those assets are financed and what portion of the assets are funded by a liability or equity, okay? So when you calculate the vertical analysis for the balance sheet, use always the total asset, okay? So let's do then one here for 2025, all right? So let's do 2025. So this will be equal to 46,236, right? That's the liability for 2025 divided by the number of total assets, right? So, I need to format this part. Okay, so I'll do this and add one more. There it is. Okay, great. And so I'm going to divide that number by the total asset, and then I'm going to divide the second number, right, 36,720 by the total asset. Okay, let me do it. This is equal to 37,720 divided by the total assets. Okay, I'm sorry, it gave me 0, but it is because I'm not formatting that. So let me do it right now. So it will be 11.1. All right, and I will do this the same for every account. Okay, every account. So let's do one more. It will be deferred revenue, right? So this is equal to 5,522 divided by the total assets. One again, it's going to give me 0, but I'll format it quickly. Okay, so it will be 1.6%. And I will do every account, every single account. I'm going to divide it by that total. Let's see what happened. All right, so now if you complete it all, then it will look like this. So now you have 2025 and 2024, everything as a percentage of the total assets. Okay, let me put that in red. So now you can evaluate, as an example, the payables. You can say, okay, I have a 15.3% in 2024. Now I got 13.7%, which is good. So your liabilities are decreasing, which is a good thing, right? You have less debts, and that way you can calculate, because a number by itself, it doesn't mean anything, right? We need to compare with something. Excellent. So let's move on quickly to the income statement. In the income statement, we're going to do the same, right, for 2025 and 2024. So let's do 2025, and I'm sure you can do on your own 2026. Now here, we're going to compare everything, and the base, it will be here, this number. Okay, we're going to compare everything against the base number here for the assets. Excuse me, look at me, the asset, the income statement. Okay, so the first one, I'm going to divide net sales, divide by the same number, right? That will be 1%, right? Or 100%. That's what the number is. Let me see if I can put this in the middle and format it properly. There you go. So now I'm going to divide every number as a percentage of 261.71, right? So here I'm going to compare 161,782, and I'm going to divide that by the sales. I certainly need to format the whole thing. Okay, that will be 62%, or 62.2%. So if I want to do the gross margin, well, then it will be 98,392 divided by 261.71. So let's do it. This is equal to 98,392 divided by 261.71. Right? So, and I continue doing that all the way down. Now, if I want to do cost of sale, let's say the cost of sale, actually, for 2024, well, I will do the same thing, right? I'm going to use that as a base. So the first number will be 265,595 divided by the same number. That will be 100%. I'm going to reduce that to just 1. There we go. Now the second one, then it will be 163,756 divided by 265,595, right? That will be 61.66%. And I continue doing that all the way down. Okay, so I'm going to put a little formula here so I can do it all the way down, if it allows me. For those of you that wanted to do it in Excel. Okay, and there is, it's not letting me do it, so I'm going to have to do it manually. So there are all the calculations of your common site. Now, know that if you're going to do this manually, the proper calculation, as I did, is 163. Like, for example, if I'm going to do this one, 2024, then it will be 163,756, right? And I'm going to divide that number by the total asset, for the total asset, which will be this one, right? 265,595. I put this in numbers. So when you divide this, the number is the following. You'll see that just in case you do it manually. So you're going to have this number, right? 0.6165. So what do you need to do? Multiply it by 100. Okay, multiply this by 100 and you will have your percentage. All right, so it will be, in this case, 61.65%. That's what the number will be. All right. Excellent, guys. One final slot, okay? Use the horizontal analysis to see how things are changing, and then use this one, the vertical, to understand how each part fit into the whole, okay? Together, they will give you a full picture. It will give you what changed and how things are structured, all right? So please practice with the real financial statements. Do your assignment. If you want, do Excel for clean and fast analysis. Try to interpret the story behind the numbers, not just calculate and use these numbers. Try to see what it's behind the numbers, all right? Avoid common mistakes, wrong bases, forgetting labels, and not explaining result, things like that, all right? Excellent, guys. I wish you the best of luck, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.